I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies I love, the alternative, B-rated, cult-style flicks. This week we're going to be starting a series where the first movie is extremely popular to this day, has a huge cult following to this day, and was a big, massive hit. This movie came out in 1960, and it was directed and produced by Alfred Hitchcock. Written by Joseph Stefano, and based on the book Psycho by Robert Bloch. Made by Shamley Productions, and distributed by Paramount Pictures. Currently distributed by Universal Pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, the movie that made women afraid to take showers. Psycho. The movie opens in Phoenix, Arizona on Friday, December 11th at 2:43 p.m. I'm not sure why Alfred Hitchcock felt it was necessary to get that specific, but okay. It's opening with a rendezvous with Marion Crane, played by Janet Leigh, mother of Jamie Lee Curtis, and Sam Loomis, played by John Gavin. Marion is tired of them meeting in seedy hotels. She wants to have a respectable relationship, where he comes over to her home, meets her family. Women. Thing is, Sam is all for having a respectable relationship. He just doesn't feel right now is the right time. He is divorced, swimming in debt, and lives in Fairbanks, California. Saying even when he gets out of debt, he still has to send his alimony checks to his ex-wife.
I'll lick the stamps.
I'm not sure if that was supposed to be dirty or romantic. Marion goes back to her office as she was on her lunch break. She works at a real estate office, and she meets a Mr. Tom Cassidy, who is buying a house for his daughter as a wedding present. My parents brought spinach dip. The house he's buying is for $40,000, which in 1960 was about the equivalent of $350,000 today. But then again, even today, $350,000, it'll buy you a house, but not necessarily a really nice one. Back then, $40,000 would buy you a nice house. Nowadays, $40,000 won't buy you a nice condo. What's really strange to everybody in the office is not only is he buying this for $40,000 outright, he's paying in cash.
I don't even want it in the office over the weekend.
Yeah, Marion's boss is a little uneasy having that much cash in the office, so he asks her to take it over to the safety deposit box they have. Marion says she's not feeling well and asks if after the bank she can just go straight home, and her boss says that's fine. But when she gets home, she starts packing a suitcase. Now, there is actually some significance in this. In the beginning, we saw her in a white bra. Now we're seeing her in a black one. Alfred Hitchcock did this as a way to kind of represent that in the beginning, she's innocent and angelic, and now she's turning to the dark side. Good. Let the hate flow through you. As Marion is driving away, wouldn't you know it, at an intersection, she sees her boss. How awkward. On her way to Fairbanks, California, Marion at some point pulls over to get some sleep until she is awakened by an officer. Naturally think it's a little strange for somebody to be parked on the side of the road all night. It's not illegal, but he does ask if there's anything wrong.
Am I acting as if there's something wrong?
Yes, you are. He lets her go because he has nothing to charge her on anything, but he is very suspicious of her. Therefore, he follows her. Can't really blame the cop in an instant like that. So eventually Marion does pull into a used car lot to trade in the car she is driving and buy another one outright. And she is very much rushing the car salesman to just get it over with. Which I can understand. I hate buying a car. You're going to be there like all day.
It's the first time the customer ever high-pressured the salesman.
It's not a great idea, though. That's how you end up buying lemons. Then again, it's like my grandpappy used to say to me. When life hands you lemons, shut the hell up and eat the lemons. But without a second thought, she pays the salesman $700 and goes off with her car.
Hey!
Just put it in here, please.
Well, that doesn't look a little sus. As Marion is driving, she starts imagining what must be being said about her.
As I said, I last saw your sister when she left this office on Friday.
Basically, she knows that by now she's in trouble.
I'll get it back, and if any of it's missing, I'll replace it with her fine, soft flesh.
You're still commenting on how hot she is when she stole $40,000 from you? Like, not for nothing, but if any woman stole $40,000 from me, I'd probably find them a lot less attractive. Whether it was 1960's $40,000 or 2023's $40,000. At that point, I don't care how hot you are, you might as well have a big, nasty, hairy, oozing wart on your face, because I hate you. It starts to rain. Maybe if you didn't rush that salesman so much and were in such a hurry to get out of there, maybe you could have selected a car that had some decent wiper blades. The rain is getting so heavy that she decides to pull over and stay in a motel for the night. The Bates Motel! A little early for the dun-dun-duns. It's 1960. We're not aware how creepy that Bates Motel is yet. Duh! She goes inside and asks if there's any rooms available.
We have 12 vacancies. 12 cabins, 12 vacancies.
That's the motel owner, Norman Bates, played by Anthony Perkins. Marion mentions that she is hungry, and Norman tells her that the closest diner is 10 miles up the road, and she has no desire to drive there right now. So he asks if she'd have dinner with him.
You know, nothing special, just sandwiches and milk, but I'd like it very much if you'd come up to the house.
I'd like a sandwich. But when he goes into his home to get some sandwiches, she hears him arguing with his mother.
You'll not be appeasing her ugly appetite with my food, or my son.
Let's just say his relationship with his mother is complicated. So, because mother doesn't approve, he asks if she would like to have dinner in the parlor in his office. He's not that hungry, so he just sits there and watches her eat, in a parlor surrounded by a bunch of dead stuffed birds. I think it's at this point that my wife, or pretty much any woman, would be like, hell no! Making conversation, she asks about his friends.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
That is definitely something a virgin would say. She asks about his mother and why she talks to him the way she does. He tells her that she is mentally ill, she's had a rough life, dealing with his father dying when he was 5, and then the death of her next lover.
When he died too, it was just too great a shock for her.
To sum up, his mother is well,
bitch!
But we'll delve more into that in the other movies. Marion suggests that he put his mother someplace.
You mean an institution? A madhouse?
Yeah, like that.
The laughing and the tears, and the cruel eyes studying you.
I'm guessing he's been there. I'm also guessing he should probably go back.
She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
At this point, I'm asking, how has Marion not crapped her pants? She then excuses herself. She's tired, and she has also decided that in the morning she's going back to Phoenix to face the music.
Are you sure you wouldn't like to stay just a little while longer? Just for talk?
I think at this point she's had enough of your conversation. Marion goes into her room, and it's at this point that we see why Norman wanted her in the room next to the office. Because Norman is a dirty, disgusting peeper! But at least this was 1960. Nowadays, he'd have cameras in her toilet. Marion does the math of what she has spent of the $40,000 in O's, and then rips up the piece of paper and throws it in the toilet. This was the first American movie that had a toilet flushing in it. And for some reason, that was a big deal. Apparently, the censors really wanted that out. We've come a long way. Then, Marion takes a shower. And like I said, this scene had many women in the country afraid to take showers. They would only take baths for a long time. My mother was one of those women. Even though there is no nudity in this scene, every time you do see a part of the body being stabbed, it's not Janet Leigh. It is a body double. She demanded this. The blood effect was used by Bosco chocolate sauce. Because when you need a fine chocolate sauce that can double as blood, better buy Bosco. Okay, I get that you killed her in a crime of passion, but you're also wasting water. When his mother gets home, Norman sees blood all over her. He freaks out and goes to see what happened, and of course he is shocked by what his mother has done, but he also can't let anything happen to Mother. So he goes about cleaning up the Bosco sauce and getting rid of the body and any evidence that the body was ever there in the first place. Something tells me he's done this before. He puts her body and all the possessions that she came in there with, including the money she stole, and puts in the back of her trunk. He then takes the car over to a swamp out back of the motel that they're in and waits for it to sink, which it takes a while. I bet when it finally did went over, he was just like, glad that that's over. Then we go to Fairbanks, California, to Sam Loomis's hardware shop.
Is Marion here?
That's Marion's sister Lila, played by Vera Miles. She's the second build in this movie, even though at this point we're more than halfway through the movie. She has a suspicion that Marion might be with Sam, which is fair to assume.
Let's all talk about Marion, shall we?
That's Detective Arbogast. He's a private detective hired by Tom Cassidy. Both Tom Cassidy, her boss, and everybody are trying to keep this quiet and out of the police's hands because all they really want is the money. Again, you steal $40,000 from me, I want you in jail. I don't care how hot you are. After talking to Sam and Lila for a bit, the detective starts going and checking out every hotel, motel, and inn he can find anywhere on the way to Fairbanks, until his travels take him to the Bates Motel. Norman tells him, of course, that nobody's been around for weeks, especially not her. But then Arbogast asks to see the hotel sign-in book because he has a sample of Marion's handwriting, and it matches a Marie Samuel's. Norman's busted. He knows that Marion's been there.
Look, I wasn't lying to you, Mr.
Oh, I know that. I know you would.
Yeah, and he believes you. Norman is now admitting that she was there, but still stammering and stumbling over every answer he's giving to Detective Arbogast. So, like any detective would, Arbogast keeps the questioning going, trying to figure out what the truth is, while at the same time determining his own theories.
She isn't still here, is she?
No.
Detective Arbogast goes outside and sees Norman's mother in the window. He wants to go talk to her, but Norman tells him that she's an invalid. So he goes back to questioning Norman about Marion.
Let's put it this way. She might have fooled me, but she didn't fool my mother.
Now Arbogast really wants to talk to his mother.
Would I need a warrant for that, too?
Sure.
So Arbogast leaves. For now. Arbogast goes and finds a payphone and takes a moment to call Lila and tell him what he's realizing, and that he is going to go back and talk to Norman Bates' mother. He tells Lila he will be back in about an hour or so. By the way, kids, what he's talking to her on, that is called a payphone. Back before cell phones, that's how we called people when we were not home. So Arbogast waits till Norman is not home and then sneaks inside, and he meets Mother. After he falls, Mother goes downstairs to take a stab at it. When Arbogast doesn't return, Lila and Sam get worried and go to the sheriff. They tell the sheriff everything that Arbogast told them, and now he's not reporting back. The sheriff calls Norman, and Norman admits that Arbogast was there, but says he left and hasn't come back. The sheriff, though, is iffy about their story, especially the stuff that comes up about Norman Bates' mother.
Norman Bates' mother has been dead and buried for the past 10 years.
That's appropriate now. The sheriff then tells him about the murder-suicide involving Norman Bates' mother, how she poisoned her lover, who she found out was married, and then committed suicide, drinking strychnine. So guys, if there was ever a message to stay faithful. But Lila and Sam swear that it was his mother that Arbogast saw.
Who's that woman buried out in Green Lawn Cemetery?
Maybe he had another mother. We'll get to that. At the house, we hear Norman talking to his mother about how he wants her to hide in the fruit cellar for a few days.
Put me down. Put me down.
I just gotta say, it would have been so funny if he dropped her. Because the sheriff is not convinced that there is any foul play going on at the Bates Motel, Lila and Sam go there and check in as husband and wife so they can do some snooping. While they're snooping, they decide that they need to get to the main house and question the mother. So Sam is going to go distract Norman while Lila goes to meet Mother. When she meets Mother, she should ask her a series of questions like, how are you not dead? How has this hotel not bankrupted you? Can I have a sandwich? Sam goes to talk to Norman, and it very quickly leads into Sam accusing Norman of taking the $40,000.
I bet your mother knows where the money is and what you did to get it.
If you think he's a killer, should you really be antagonizing him? Norman needs to get out of there because he has a feeling that Lila might be in his house. So he gets an idea of how to get away from Sam, right off the top of his head. Well, more accurate would be say off of Sam's head. Inside, Lila meets Mrs. Bates. Mrs. Bates could use one of those sandwiches I was talking about.
Oh my, I'm afraid.
But luckily, Sam wasn't knocked out. At least Norman doesn't put that much of a fight up. Then we go to a long scene that was actually a little bit criticized because it did drag on and was kind of unnecessary, but to basically tell us everything we've already figured out. That Norman was the one that actually killed his mother, then stole her body, and basically came up with a split personality that made it to where he was half himself, half of his mother. Carrying on conversations with himself, believing it was his mother, and occasionally Mother would take over all of Norman's personality. Also, because of Norman's unhealthy relationship with his mother, he was very jealous over her boyfriend, which is why he killed the both of them, and developed this personality of his mother being jealous over him, which is why his mother would take over and kill any woman that he was ever aroused by. Psychiatrist says that Norman even admitted that there's 2 more bodies that we didn't know about in that swamp. But with what's going on, it's gotten to the point that the personality of his mother is not just occasionally his personality.
He tried to be his mother. Now he is.
And his mother is locked up, but being quiet and very harmless, so that they'll see.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
So there you have it, that's a classic 1960 version of Psycho. This movie was a huge success. It had about an $800,000 budget, which even then wasn't a huge budget, and did over $50 million in the box office, which is not only a big profit, but was huge. It was easily the #1 movie in the country for quite a while. Alfred Hitchcock was extremely secretive about this movie, though. Before the movie even began, the cast and crew had to raise their right hand and swear not to divulge anything about the movie. He also didn't let any of the cast and crew know the ending until it was absolutely needed. Not only that, but in the interest of keeping the story secret, Alfred Hitchcock anonymously bought the rights to the book Psycho, and then bought as many copies as he possibly could so that as few people as possible would get the book and know the ending. Heck, even when people would go to movie theaters to see Psycho, there were signs all over the place begging people don't spoil the ending. Not only that, but because he felt the movie had to be enjoyed from start to finish, he made a deal with all the movie theaters showing Psycho that if you were late, you would not get in, you'd have to wait till the next showing. Which means you'd have to get there early to get your frickin' popcorn. But what I want to know is, could we have at least just missed the previews? Thing is, the studios weren't all that behind this movie, and Alfred Hitchcock wanted to do it so badly that he actually offered to not get his normal salary, which was a big salary back then. About $250,000, again, which was huge. But he made a deal with him that he would forgo that salary and only get 60% of the gross income of this movie. And Paramount Pictures agreed to that because they didn't figure this movie was going to do all that well anyway. It was a good deal for him because from getting 60% of the gross of this movie, he made $15 million. In today's money, that's about $131 million. After filming and editing it and putting everything together, Alfred Hitchcock was not happy with this movie and wasn't going to release it until the movie was scored by Bernard Herrmann. Once the music and everything was put into place, he absolutely loved the movie. And you know what? The music does make this movie. Another length he went to keep the ending secret, he teased multiple actresses playing Norman Bates' mother, so much so that many actresses were calling and writing letters trying to get an audition to play Norman Bates' mother. It was all a ruse, so people would think he actually had a mother. Not only do I still love this movie because it is thrilling, it is exciting, and it has a great story, but I also respect what it has done for movies. This movie has inspired many, many horror movies, including the movie that started the slasher film genre, Halloween. John Carpenter admitted a lot of his inspiration came from Psycho, including multiple characters in the movie Halloween were inspired by Psycho. Heck, he even was adamant about casting Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween because she's the daughter of Janet Leigh. Sad thing is, though, what did inspire the story Psycho was real-life serial killer Ed Gein. Now, this movie is very loosely based on Ed Gein, but it still inspired Psycho. It also inspired movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Silence of the Lambs. However, despite that little horrific detail, I do love this movie, and I actually like the movies that follow. The sequels didn't do as well, but I, for the most part, felt they were all entertaining, and we will get to them in the future. But for right now, more than likely, it's only if you're a part of this generation that you may not have seen Psycho, the original. I definitely recommend you do yourself a favor and go check out the very original one that started it all, Psycho, the 1960 version. So yeah, that's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications when I post new videos, and leave a comment. If you've seen the original Psycho, tell me what you thought of the original Psycho. Love you guys.